What would happen if you tried to pour the entire ocean into a lake? Or if you tried to pour 100 million gallons of vision into a 30 million gallon container? It would do two things. It would explode from the pressure, or it would flood from the inadequate containment. Either way, it's a disaster. So why do you try to force your 100 million gallon vision, your 100 million world-changing vision, into a container that can barely hold it without spilling within seconds? Hi, I'm Naomi Olatayo, and I am the Wealth Priestess, and I awaken and initiate governors, unprecedented leaders, and originating founders into their wealth, and I give them the blueprints to sustainably execute their destiny. I am here to help you stop trying to shove your 100 million gallon vision into a 30 million gallon container, and to finally give you the blueprints to create the containment architecture that can hold the magnitude and the sheer vastness of your vision without fracture, collapse, or misalignment. Anyways, you know who you are. I don't have to tell you who you are. You know who you are. You are a person of great magnitude, and your vision is meant to literally replace entire legacy systems, to advance humanity, to do incredibly dense things. What you have is so unprecedented, provocative, and look at me already telling you who you are, but you know who you are. I don't have to tell you that again for you to know who you are. You know exactly who you are. So why do you insist on executing as if that's not true? Tell me. Tell me why you insist on trying to execute inside containers that you experience every day as too small for you. And you have the nerve to start blaming your mindset, the market, the economy, your effort, when it is documented with all the degrees you have, with all the evidence you have, with all the data you have, with all the references you have, people who can vouch for you right now. You have all of that, and yet you still blame yourself. You keep repeating the cycle of obscurity and collapse because you keep executing a 100 million gallon vision into a 30 million gallon container. When an immense amount of raw life force, which is your unmaterialized wealth, if you haven't watched this video, your life force is wealth unmaterialized, I highly recommend to go watch that before you finish this video. I forgot to mention that. But anyways, when an immense amount of raw life force enters an architecture built for standard linear business metrics, it floods the containment completely. As I said in the beginning, it either explodes from the pressure or it floods from inadequate containment. So if your vision is a global scale, multi-venture enterprise, executing inside containment that was not built for it will overwhelm it. Here are some consequences of that. Somatically, you're going to burn out. You aren't tired from working. You're not lazy. You're just exhausted from trying to hold back the sheer force of the ocean that is your magnitude, yourself, and your vision. You end up feeling like you're in prison. You feel trapped inside the business that you built. You start resenting it. You start making excuses as to why you need to exit, or why you just start making excuses because you don't want to admit to yourself that you've built containment. You've built a business model that is fundamentally at odds or incompatible with the sheer magnitude of what you're here to build. Then you have no safe exit strategy. You can't step away to day-to-day operations because the entire structure is held together by your muscle and your willpower. Imagine trying to hold back an ocean with your bare hands. You would die. You would die. Then your nervous system, your chronic panic attacks, intense internal pressure, high adrenaline stress because you're trying to house this electric surge without the adequate equipment. And then, of course, let's not even forget the structural consequences. The feast and famine loop, volatile cash months of massive staggering wealth surges followed by months of complete haunting silence. I know you know that all too well. Rapid team turnover, your high frequency team burns out, and then people are crushed by the lack of order that you've developed within this. And then, of course, the reboot cycle, which is unsustainable scaling attempts that lead you to constantly close, burn down, or restart your business from scratch just so you can breathe, and you think that's normal. I thought that was normal for a long time too. And of course, the viral fracture, which is going viral or getting a sudden influx of attention and that completely collapsing it. Sometimes you have to stop blaming yourself. Sometimes it's not personal. Sometimes it's not emotional. It's not that you need to meditate more or take more vacations. This is a structural problem, especially when you have the proof of your excellence, your skill, and candor. Sometimes it's simply a structural problem. Stop trying to solve an architectural problem with a disciplined routine. The input is excellent, but the output is not mirroring the results it should because the structure or the container has a leak. You don't have to shrink your vision, dilute your vision, whatever. And you definitely don't have to shrink yourself. You need to build the correct containment architecture to house your true scale. And that is exactly what I teach you how to do in my July 19th transmission titled The Originator's Wealth Cycle. I will be teaching you how to safely build the containers that can accurately mirror the fullness of your wealth and in turn, God. And if you don't get that, that's because you need to watch my other video, Your Life Force is Unmaterialized Wealth. I am calling in 25 unprecedented leaders, trailblazing founders, and originators and governors to join me on July 19th at 4 p.m. Eastern to receive the blueprints and map to architecting the containment structures that can actually hold the entirety of their wealth. My Originator's Wealth Cycle is a 3.5 hour-long live structural diagnostic and mapping transmission built exclusively for high-magnitude leaders and founders who have outgrown every traditional framework because their vision has simply outpaced it all. By the end of this session, you will have the blueprints and the map to navigate and architect the exact containment structures you need to actualize the entirety of your wealth. If you know this is for you, if this video has spoken to you at all, the link to apply will be linked down below. Anyways, I'm Naomi Olatayo, the Wealth Priestess. I am so happy to have hosted you for this video. I appreciate you for stopping by, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.